Hey everyone, Tech Dad here, and today we are covering a complete buying guide to the full iPad lineup that is available in 2025. There are so many good iPads to choose from this year, and maybe you're having trouble narrowing down which one to get. Now, this guide will help anyone who wants to purchase an iPad, but my channel focuses specifically on professionals and how to use the iPad in real work and productivity. So you'll see my advice leaning towards that today. Now, I have 10 years of experience in working in an Apple store and technology support center in a university setting, so I've had lots of experience helping professionals, students, and parents purchase the right Apple device to meet their needs. And I'm excited to help you today. So in this guide, we're going to cover all four models that are available, including the iPad mini, the A16 11th gen iPad, the newly announced M3 iPad Air, and the M4 iPad Pro, which is my personal favorite. I use this one as my only computer every day for all my work and productivity. I use it in my project management position in teaching and, of course, in content creation for YouTube. Now, we'll also cover all the accessories that you might want to pick up with your new iPad, including the different kinds of Apple Pencils, the Apple keyboards, and even secondary displays. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so the first iPad that I want to discuss in the lineup is the iPad mini, and this guy got a refresh in the fall of 2024. Now, it's not the lowest price point in the iPad lineup. It starts at $499, and that's for 128 gigabytes of storage. And it has a decent display put in it. So it's got the 500 nits of brightness. It has the anti-reflective coating and lamination. It also comes equipped with the A17 Pro chip, which I believe was the iPhone 15 Pro chip. So it has a phone chip in it, and it has just a good enough chip to allow it to use Apple Intelligence, which in my opinion is actually really nice for a professional level, especially if you're a teacher. I use it with my teaching job all the time, but Apple Intelligence is just nice to be able to quickly rewrite an email or quickly rewrite some notes. You can also create images really quick. I love that for education. So if you want to pull up a water molecule, you can do that quickly and start taking notes about it. So obviously the iPad mini is best in class for portability. People love it because it's so small and portable. And I have a lot of professionals comment on my channel about how they use it for that specific purpose. They love to take it on the airplane with them, read books, maybe look over a slideshow presentation. I think it's great for things that you would do with your phone. You're going to check emails, you're going to browse the web, you might read a book, or you might check over some PDFs for work. Now, concerning productivity, I think it's probably the worst iPad in the lineup and wasn't really built for productivity. So it doesn't support Stage Manager where you can open multiple apps. You can do a side-by-side where you have two apps open, but that's where it stops. It has no support for a secondary display. So the beefier iPads, you can actually connect a second monitor. This does not do that. When you connect a display, it just mirrors it. There's no real functional keyboards. I think you can get some on Amazon, but this guy is pretty tiny to do any real typing on, so I probably wouldn't attempt that. Most professionals that use the iPad mini pair it with a MacBook, and it's sort of a sidekick device where you can take notes and just have some ultra portability. This iPad is probably my least favorite in the lineup. I don't understand the price point. It's $499. For $100 more, you could get an M3 iPad Air, or if you want to save a lot of money, you can get the A16 iPad, which is pretty much just as capable as this one, minus Apple Intelligence, but it has a larger screen. Now, this iPad is compatible with Apple Pencil Pro, so you do get those gestures with Apple Pencil Pro if you want to spend the money on that, or you can just buy an Apple Pencil USB-C and save about $40. Okay, so the second iPad I want to talk about is the A16 11th gen iPad. This is probably my second favorite iPad in the lineup and makes the most sense to me. So it's an extremely popular iPad due to the price point. It's $349 or $329 if you can catch it on sale like I did at Best Buy, and that is also the education price of $329. $329 is a steal for a brand new iPad. This one was just refreshed here in the spring of 2025. So it's now equipped with the A16 chip. It can't do Apple Intelligence with that chip, but a lot of people don't really care about that. It has a really good display, but there is no anti-reflective coating or lamination. I don't really notice that though too much. When I compare it to the iPad Air or the Mini, I think the screen is very comparable, very similar. Now, this iPad is not compatible with Apple Pencil Pro. It's compatible with the first gen Apple Pencil or Apple Pencil USB-C. USB-C, which this is a very affordable pencil, and you can connect it to this iPad and charge it, or you can also magnetize it to the top. It doesn't charge or sync that way, but that's okay. I think this is a great iPad for a student or a professional who, again, wants a sidekick to a MacBook. I actually use it as a sidekick to my iPad Pro. I actually love taking notes on this guy. So while I'm working on my iPad Pro and it's serving as my main computer, I like to have this on the side and just jotting down notes, pull up a PDF or a presentation and look over it. Sort of like another monitor. Now, the A16 chip is not that great for gaming or for video editing and productivity in that nature. This iPad also does not support Stage Manager or a secondary display. So again, you can open 2 apps on it in the side-by-side, but that's it. So I don't think this is a great choice for someone who's trying to replace their computer, for example, with an iPad. Probably not going to work out too well. The chip is underpowered and it just doesn't have good functionality for full productivity. Now, you can get a keyboard for it. Apple sells a keyboard for it for $229. I think that's a ridiculous price point for a keyboard. It's almost as much as the cost of the iPad. I have not bought that keyboard. Wouldn't recommend it. There are keyboards on Amazon you can get for $30 or $40, some up to $80 that include a trackpad. I think that's good enough to type on an iPad like this. Okay, next is the M3 iPad Air, and this just came out this year technically. They released an M2 iPad Air in 2024, but here in the last month they put the M3 chip in the iPad Air, which is a nice little performance bump. Now, this model starts at $599 for 128 gigs of storage, and it also comes in a 13-inch size for $200 more. So you can get the 13-inch iPad Air for $799 starting out. So it has the M3 chip, which is starting to get into computer level performance, and so the M3 chip went into the MacBooks, the MacBook Pro, MacBook Air. So because of that chip bump, now it supports Stage Manager, where you can open up multiple apps on this iPad at a time. You can also connect to a secondary display, and I actually use the Apple Studio display. It works awesome for iPad. I got it on sale last year for $12.99. I know it's 3 years old at this point, but man, it is still an awesome display. It has built-in speakers, built-in microphone, all those perform really well, and it's just gorgeous. 27 inches. I love using it as a secondary display for my iPad. And this little guy can do that. It can connect to a secondary display, and so now you're starting to get into some computer-like functionality. I've actually had some professionals comment on my channel that say they've replaced their computer with the M3 iPad Air, and it's working out great for them. And I've been testing it at work. Yep, with the secondary display, you can comfortably host Zoom meetings, team meetings, show presentations. Now, a couple things about this iPad Air. I'm not sure that the pricing makes sense, because if you're trying to do real productivity with it, I don't think 128 gigs of storage is enough. And I would never recommend someone at my technology center to purchase a device that only has 128 gigs of storage and is going to serve as their main device. So I would think you would have to get at least the 256 or maybe even the 512, and that's going to bump the price up by at least $100, maybe more, depending on which model you choose. I also don't think that the 11-inch screen size is large enough to really replace a computer. I've tried working on this screen size for the last couple weeks. I don't really like it. Safari still tends to look like a mobile browser at that screen size, and that's difficult to do demonstrations at work. So if you are going to try to replace your computer with this iPad, I would really recommend the 13-inch screen size and at least get 256 gigs of storage. I have lots of content on replacing your computer with an iPad. I've done that myself. I've used my iPad Pro as my only computer for almost a year now. If you want to check out my channel, I've got lots of stuff that talks about how to do that. Now, the M3 iPad Air is compatible with Apple Pencil Pro, which is really nice. You get those extra touch gestures built into the pencil, and it will charge and sync when you attach it to the top. But if you want to save a little bit of money, you can get Apple Pencil USB-C for this device as well. Concerning the keyboard of this device, I don't think this is worth the money either after I've purchased it. So it's not as good as the iPad Pro keyboard. It is not backlit. Also, the trackpad feels kind of cheap. So in most devices the past several years, Apple puts in a trackpad with haptic feedback. There's no actual real button, but when you click the trackpad, it feels like you're clicking a button. Well, this keyboard does not have that. When you click, it's actually a real button, and you can tell when you take the iPad off, it still clicks. And for a keyboard that's over $200, I wish it just would have been backlit and a little bit better quality. But it's not terrible. The 11-inch doesn't feel cramped to type on. The typing experience on it is pretty good as far as that goes. And of course, it serves as a beautiful protective case as well. So it looks good. I like the way Apple designed the case. It just doesn't measure up to the Pro for this price point. Okay, so now we can discuss my personal favorite, the M4 iPad Pro, and this was released back in May of 2024. So almost a year old at this point, but still awesome. And I've actually owned two different Pro models. So I had the base model, 256 gigs of storage, 13 13-inch, and I loved it, but for professional work, I really didn't get enough storage space. 256 is not enough if you're trying to replace your computer. So I actually recently traded in my iPad Pro. I got $710 for the trade-in at the Apple Store, and I put it towards the 1 terabyte version. Now, the 1 terabyte version comes with an even more powerful M4 chip. It also comes with double the RAM, so it has 16 gigabytes of RAM, which I really love for editing all this 4K video. The M3 iPad Air only comes with 8, and so does the base model M4 iPad Pro. So when you start to go up in storage space, you start to get the more professional grade options. One of the other really cool options that you get once you start looking into that 1 terabyte range is the nano texture screen, and I absolutely love this nano texture screen. So the nano texture drastically reduces glare and reflection, and when you're recording an iPad screen all the time, that's really amazing. I also write on my iPad all the time, and the nano texture screen gives a more paper-ish feel. So it's a less glossy and more of a matte finish. Even my hand glides across it better. I absolutely love the nano texture screen, and that's available for $100 extra. Again, I went with the 13-inch model because I wanted to replace my computer, and it gets difficult when you're using that 11-inch model for work all the time, all day, every day. So I really recommend the 13-inch model. I'd also recommend the higher-end models. If you're going to go iPad Pro, don't go cheap. I've learned that. I tried to save money by getting the base model, but if it's your only device, you really need to make sure that you buy enough storage space and that you have enough computing power to do your job, or in my case, jobs. Probably the biggest benefit to owning the M4 iPad Pro is the OLED display. So you have the best in-class display that you can get on an iPad with the Pro. It has the brightest screen possible at up to 1600 nits. It has a faster refresh rate, so double the refresh rates of all the other iPads. And even if you get the OLED display without nano texture, it's much less reflective because it's just so darn bright. The iPad Pro also comes with Thunderbolt 4 connection, so if you connect an external hard drive to this thing and you're transferring a lot of files that are really big, this thing does it lightning fast, as good as a MacBook Pro. The keyboard is also so worth it. So it is backlit and it has an aluminum finish, so it feels like a MacBook keyboard. Again, the trackpad has haptic feedback, so it doesn't feel cheap. It's extremely quiet, very satisfying to click. It's really top-notch quality and worth the money. I love this keyboard. So again, if you've got the budget for this one, this is a great iPad to have. Absolute top-notch features, from the screen to the processor to the extra RAM to the storage and to its accessories. It's just the best of the best, and I've had an awesome experience with it. Okay, so that's my rundown on all the iPads that are available in 2025. You really can't go wrong with any of these devices. It just depends what your use case is and what you're trying to do with your iPad. The Mini and the A16 are great companion devices, and the M3 Air and the Pro are getting to the point where they can just downright replace your computer altogether, depending on the work that you do. If you own one of these iPads, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below. I'd like to see which one you're using. That's all I got for you. If you like this sort of content, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.